Welcome everybody, it's SoccerBeat and it's me, Peter the Toy, looking forward to another show with you guys. And this show is brought to you by AirMobile, one of our wonderful sponsors. Please support them. So today's show, guys, is all about what's hot and trending in South African football right this very second. Now, when it comes to hot and trending news, obviously the deals are not confirmed. Those of you out there who are only interested in hearing about what's confirmed 100%, this is not for you. So you may as well go and make yourself a cup of tea or have a beer, or whatever is your fancy. Those of you who like to be kept abreast of what's happening behind the scenes, there's so much that goes behind these transfers. So those of you who fancy knowing the way towards a deal, I'm going to give you 6 deals right now, 6 topics right now that are hot, and I'll give you the story behind it and let you know what I think will be happening from what I've gathered amongst all the sources. And the 6 stories I'll be talking about are Appollis, SuperSport sale, where Gavin Hunt's going, what's happening to Rulani, what's facing Saleng, and the Velebayi issue, who supposed to be signing for Kaizer Chiefs. And there's a very interesting twist to that tale. But first, guys, we're 3,000 short of 50,000 subscribers. 3,000 short before 50,000 rands worth of prizes out for you guys. So come on, let's subscribe. Excuse me, we get that. All right, let's talk about the first deal. Appollis, the Polokwane winger. This has been on the go for a long time. You heard from Cheese and the Talking Pirates guys, and it's a fact that Orlando Pirates seem favourites to sign the player in this transfer window. But, little twist in this tale. Mamelodi Sundowns are sitting on huge money, as we know, and now even more money after their time in the Club World Cup. And Patrice Motsepe, or the Motsepe family or the board, the ownership, has said they will use all this money for transfers. If you look at the side, where was the problem? One of the problems besides defending on crosses is certainly on the left-hand side. They don't have an out-and-out winger. They've got Matthews there who's done very well, but he's not that good a finisher as we've seen. And don't be surprised if they come in with a big offer with Appollis to get him to play on that left-hand side. They could very well come in at the last minute with money that Polokwane cannot say no to. But right now, as Cheese and them told you, Appollis is favourites to go to Orlando Pirates. But also a lot can depend on what happens there with Mofokeng. I'll keep you in touch with this. This is changing all the time. The second deal that I want to talk to you about is SuperSport sale. What I'm told, that SuperSport, as I've told you before, has been sold to the Gate McKenzie group. Let's just call it that. The club at this stage will probably stay in Gauteng and may well still use the name SuperSport because there's a problem in the initial ownership of the name Bloemfontein Celtic. And the particular party who owns the name is not necessarily still going to be in with the current new owners, I should say, or the new owners in making this deal a Bloemfontein Celtic deal. So there's a lot in the mix there. The deal hasn't been announced, as you know, but something could happen soon. My feeling, though, is going to be the sale will go through, but the name may not be the Bloemfontein Celtic name. And whether the team plays in Bloemfontein under a different name, or under the SuperSport name, or still stays in Joburg, that's still being negotiated. So that's what's happening there. On the Rulani issue, which follows that, the talk is that they're going for a high-profile coach, and it looks like the number one on their target is Rulani Mokwena. And as you may have noticed in an interview that Rulani did, I think it was in the Sunday Times a couple of weeks ago, he said he'd really love to work with Stan Matthews. Maybe that's where the talking already started. But from what I hear, don't be surprised. As I say, it's still a long way to go. Don't be surprised if Rulani Mokwena is the new head coach of the SuperSport new owner franchise. We'll see what happens there. The The next story I want to talk to you about is Saleng. Now, this is not a transfer story, although it possibly could be. But let's look at his situation and what's facing Saleng right now. So Saleng is in Orlando Pirates' view the last year of his contract. He hasn't played for almost 3/4 of a season. The agent and Saleng need to think very carefully on their next move. Number one, even if they come back and train with Orlando Pirates may not welcome him with open arms, and he may be sitting out it may take him a while to get back into the team. I think this is the moment that Saleng has got to, and his agent have got to take a serious thought and say, is this benefiting them in the long term if he doesn't go back cap in hand and back to Orlando Pirates? This 6 months, if he goes back with the right attitude, he could get himself into the AFCON squad. He could possibly get himself into Bafana squad and obviously back into the Orlando Pirates side. If he doesn't go back, he'll have spent over a season out of football, almost over 12 months out of football. And if he doesn't go back in the second half of the season, he's going to be almost 18 months out of football. His value will diminish in the eyes of all football clubs in South Africa and overseas. But he's also got to remember this is a small ownership model in South Africa. He could well be blacklisted in those boardrooms. People talk. So I really urge Saleng and his agent to realize this decision you're making right now to go back or not to go back to Orlando Pirates, your future actually depends on this. It's this time you're not playing with Orlando Pirates. You're playing with your career, and I think it's going to be very dangerous to sit out another 6 months. And I think it's important that the agent realizes this 6 months can catapult Saleng into a Bafana, AFCON, and World Cup squad. Or he sits at home and watches on TV, and his career is basically over. I think it's too serious a moment. Fans, put it in the comment section. I think we need pressure on the agent. We want to see Saleng playing. Even if Pirates loan him out somewhere, which I doubt if that'll happen, Saleng's got to go back to Pirates, and he's got to go back to Pirates soon. The next season starts soon. Right, let's go on to Gavin Hunt. Gavin, as you know, is a friend of mine, and whenever I phone Gavin, he returns the call. The only time he doesn't return a call, when there's a deal happening. So Gavin, I know you're hiding from me, and I know why you're hiding from me. My people in Durban tell me you're going to Durban City. So guys, I can tell you right now, Gavin Hunt is running away from me, and I think the only reason is in negotiations. So the deal hasn't been announced, and it won't be announced. He'll phone me when it's going to be announced. So I'm pretty certain Gavin Hunt is about to put pen to Durban City. Gavin, Farouk, you can call me. It's out there. The next deal I want to talk to you about is the Cape Town Spurs winger Velebayi. Now, it's been out there that he signed a pre-contract with Kaizer Chiefs. Now, it's not as simple as that, guys, because he's still got a year or two left of his contract at Cape Town Spurs. Now, it's not been officially admitted by the player or his agent or even Kaizer Chiefs that he's signed a pre-contract. Now, how could you sign a pre-contract when you're not a free agent? Well, the reason why you can sign a pre-contract is that if a club gets relegated to the amateur leagues, which the regional third division is, you then declared an amateur, and you can then sign for another professional club. So, on the one hand, Cape Town Spurs have been relegated, and according to an interpretation, and it's a valid interpretation, that he could sign for another club now as a free agent, and he has signed to all intents and purposes with Kaizer Chiefs and should be playing for Kaizer Chiefs next season. Now, that's on the one hand. Where does it get a little complicated? It gets complicated on two matters. One, if Cape Town Spurs buy a franchise, and they're rumored to be buying the Pretoria Callies franchise, then Cape Town Spurs could say, well, we bought a franchise, and therefore Cape Town Spurs continues under the banner of Pretoria Callies. But obviously the player and his agent, and the player definitely wants to go to Kaizer Chiefs, obviously lots bigger money and a bigger club, and obviously in a higher division. The player and the agent then could argue that that's irrelevant because Cape Town Spurs got relegated. The fact that you bought Pretoria Callies is a completely separate matter, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the players' contracts are valid with Pretoria Callies. Well, they're certainly not valid with Pretoria Callies. They're contracted with Cape Town Spurs, and Cape Town Spurs is not automatically Pretoria Callies, even though the name change would make it sound one and the same, but they're two different entities. However, if there's a legal document out there that says Cape Town Spurs is owned by a separate company or in individual names, and they have committed to pay those players' salaries over and beyond whatever happens this season, regardless of they're relegated or not. They basically saying, we refute our amateur status, we are paying you even if we were in the third division. And that means those players still have value into the club in the interpretation of the Cape Town Spurs owners. So that would give them if they're correct in that, they would give them two options. They could then sell players that they feel there's value. In other words, they could do a deal with Kaizer Chiefs and say, look, we value him at 5 million, but pay us 5 million and let's get it over with, you can have the player. Or if they're valued at a higher figure, Kaizer Chiefs could say no. And then they could go the legal route to say, you're actually an amateur. So it's not a simple deal, this. The player wants to sign and has probably signed a pre-contract with Kaizer Chiefs. The player and his agent would see themselves as the player is now as an amateur and therefore legally being able to sign for Kaizer Chiefs. Cape Town Spurs are not going to want to let go of a player that has got value to them in monetary terms and on a playing term. So they would try and argue that if they buy the franchise, that he still remains a Cape Town Spurs player. The agent and maybe Kaizer Chiefs would argue, no, you bought Pretoria Callies, and that still has to incorporate the Cape Town Spurs players if they want to be incorporated into that mechanism. Or the third option is the Cape Town Spurs players and the Cape Town Spurs club is under another name, and that name, that public company or an investment company buys Pretoria Callies, and that could complicate the matter. So this is an interesting one. There's a lot more to the story. And then obviously we've got Cape Town City also saying they're looking to buy Orbit. This issue of clubs buying other franchises in South Africa should stop. It complicates the game. You don't see it happen anywhere else in the world. You get relegated, you get relegated. And I'd like to hear what the fans out there feel about that as well. Till next time, guys, I'll update you on these very, very shortly. See you soon.